Hello beautiful people of Age of Empires Mobile. Timmy is here with another awesome episode because I will gonna show you which is the best setup for the Swordsman right now in Age of Empires Mobile. And you guessed it, dear beautiful people, it includes tests with Lagertha at 5 stars. Now first of all, super important is to mention that this video would have been literally impossible without the help of Mr. K-Pop NPC 123 coming from server 13. So yes, it's super important to take a moment and write in the comments, Mr. NPC 123, thank you very much. Because yeah, you guessed it, he is the one helping us here with the Lagertha at 5 stars, which means in other words, we can do this episode and I can focus my resources towards Belisarius, but this time with the pikemans, as if you saw the video yesterday, Belisarius on cavalry, it's a massive disappointment. So yes, beautiful people, in order to highlight the difference between these two setups, you can only do it with numbers, but not just that, you need literally a lot of attacks, but you're gonna understand this in a second, because you know what, now we are adding on the screen, on the left side, those numbers. So what are you seeing there? Sure, first 20 attacks, super important. You cannot test the setup versus another by just doing 1, 2, 3 attacks, because having a look at these values, none of them will repeat. Therefore, you need 20, 30 attacks in order to calculate an average March performance to see if is indeed a difference. So what are these numbers representing here on the left side of the screen? Well, people, this is the damage per second, which I have calculated for all 20 attacks. And these numbers are actually not sorted, because if we have a look at number 1, you see 3,437 damage per second output coming from my Miyamoto Tribuana and Yodit, versus in the same battle, Yodit Tribuana and Lagertha reaching 3,792 damage per second. And what else are you seeing here? These fields marked in green, which represents which setup actually won. And of course, we're gonna talk in a second about the difference between these two setups. But you know what? First, let's actually start by showing you guys the stats and the way we have customized our two setups. So first of all, we go into the buffs, and here's going to be extremely important to keep the following numbers in mind. So 662.4%, this is my might attack, and his might attack is 690. And that's somewhere around 28 points. He has a higher might attack, which is in reality not a 28% higher might attack, it's actually far smaller. Round about 5%, let's put it there without calculating. What's also super important is also the might defense, because both setups are might setups doing might damage, therefore a higher might defense, actually you're going to receive less damage. And again, you see here roughly around 50% points difference between us. And here we can actually be more specific, because 50 points extra might defense in his case translates actually by such a high value in only real 10% might defense overall. Good. And we also see he has round about 9% higher health than me. Good. Let's go a bit more lower here, because we also want to see the might stats. Of course, the armor in here do indeed play a role. And of course, all these 20 attacks are done at full strength. So you see my normal march 146.7 thousand units versus his march size 141 and 70 units. But now first to the lineups. So we're going to start with mine. I'm using the Elfugian Sun on Mr. Miyamoto. I'm using the following skills: the High Spirit and the Earth Crush. And of course, very fast into the gear, super important. So basically, you see here the style levels, what stats do I get, and super important also what kind of gems I have chosen. So you see there unit capacity, you see here hero might and the value. Here you see the active skill damage, super important. Miyamoto and also Yodit are heroes with active skill damage. Let's briefly jump to Tribuana, and on her I'm using the Skyward Knight ring at this level, level 6. And of course, I'm using the following two skills: the King's Blade and the Judgment. And of course, very fast to the gear. And this is what I have on her helm. This is what I have on her gloves. This is the chest. And these are the boots. Let's also see my Yodit. I'm using the Scorching Flame on her. That's level 50. It's a very powerful ring, by the way. Very fast to the skills. I'm using the Battle Roar. And the other one is the Executioner. Very fast the gear. So you see basically here the gems. You also see the level of the gear and what stats am I getting. And now it's time to jump into the setup of Mr. NPC 123 coming from server 13. So yeah, he's using the Elfugian Sun on Yodit and Yodit as a commander. Well, let's see the skills. Basically not maxed out. He is missing 2 stars in here. The Battle Roar and the Executioner. Let's briefly have a look at the gear, what he has on Yodit. So we're going to see that, the Might, the Hero Active Skill Damage, and of course the boots. Let's jump very fast into Tribiwana. And on Tribiwana, we see that he's using the same ring, the Skyward Knight. It's a level 20, so a bit higher than mine. Small differences here and there. The skills are a little bit different because he's using the Fortification, an interesting choice. A strong one and a very cheap one because the skill is purple. And of course, though he needs also the King's Blade. The gear, very fast on Tribiwana. This is the gear and of course the gems. Pause the video if you feel the need to. And of course, very interesting. Let's have a look at Lagertha. So on Lagertha, he's using the Ring of the Badger, which is a very powerful ring, by the way, at level 20. And a cheap one, far cheaper than a gold one. As skills, he is using the High Spirit, the Raging Bloodline. And of course, very fast, let's have a look at the gear. And you're going to see also the gems in there. And okay, this is done. So these are the 2 setups which we are testing against each other. And again, keep in mind these small differences kind of here, the Might attack. And at the Might defense, they will indeed play a role. So back to the numbers on the left side of the screen. Those fields marked in green represents that specific setup actually won. So from 20 attacks, my Miyamoto, Tribiwana and Yodit succeeded to win 8 attacks out of 20. But hold on a second, because we really have to take an example in order for you to understand what does a win look like. So we're gonna take the battle 14, in which you see that my Miyamoto, Tribiwana and Yodit done 3,260 damage per second, lost the battle, while Yodit, Tribiwana and Lagertha done 3,541 points of damage per second. So where is the difference? Roughly around 180 points damage per second. Well, let's see what does it look like actually in game. And if you look now on the other side of the screen, is literally exactly this battle report, which I saved specially for you. Again, you see our march size, but what you're seeing is the fact that he indeed won, but still had 14,000 units left alive from a march of 141,000 units. So good. Now is the time to jump into the comparison on this one. So basically the stats didn't change. And here we have a look at the general overview of what happened. Of course, you see from this setup that both Lagertha and Tribiwana actually does some healing. And of course, super important, the details. So let's see the hero activation. And here you see Miyamoto and Yodit. Let's slowly scroll down to Tribiwana versus Tribiwana. The only difference is basically he's using the fortification in there, which is a purple skill, a solid one again. And of course, here you see Yodit in my case on the 3rd position versus Lagertha also on 3rd position. But we have another example in order for you to understand better. Because now we're going to take the battle report number 15. So let's again have a look on the left side of the screen. Because in that battle, obviously my Miyamoto, Tribiwana and Yodit actually won and succeeded to have a match performance of 2,958 points of damage per second versus Yodit, Tribiwana and Lagertha reaching the damage per second value of 2,889 points. So beautiful people, the difference here, it's 69 points damage per second, higher performance from my Miyamoto, Tribiwana and Yodit. Well, how does this battle report actually look like in game? And that's exactly this one. And yes, indeed I won, but again, have a look. With 2,950 units still left alive, which a battle couldn't be more closer than this. And of course, let's jump into the comparison because again, we want to see the overview and what happened here. And of course, we want to jump also to the hero activation skill tab, which by the way should get this name for this tab because details is kind of confusing. Same goes for the stats. Should be overview of the battle. So anyways, this is the performance of the two commanders. In this case here, Miyamoto. On this side is Yodit. And of course, 2 times here Tribhuwana, the activation rate. And of course, now we see Yodit in here. And we also see the performance coming from Lagertha, which does a bit of healing, but also damage. So now, what is the difference in performance with numbers between these two setups? As we're going to need that when we're going to rank the marches. So Miyamoto, Tribhuwana, and Yodit reached an average march performance of 3,570 points, while Yodit, Tribhuwana, and Lagertha reached a march performance of 3,737 points. And beautiful people, the difference between these two setups, based on these stats, 4.5%. But that's what I said at the beginning of the video. It's super important to keep in mind that he has a slightly higher might attack, roughly around, let's say 5%, a solid 10% higher might defense, but missing 2 levels on the battle roar. So taking this into consideration, because the difference is already small, I would say roughly a difference between these two setups, it's a damage per second output of round about 4 to 5% difference. That's extremely small. But could I actually explain the difference between these two setups in an even simpler way? Well, I can do that, beautiful people, because again, the general explanation of the difference between these two marches comes down to the commander. So what you're going to see in battle animation is that Miyamoto is going to charge his commander skill a touch faster than Yodit. And when it comes down to that, my march has slightly less amount of troops than the march of Yodit. But when Miyamoto is going to hit, he's going to lose a lot of units. And a second after that, literally, Yodit has her commander skill charged and she's going to hit, but no longer with that high amount of units, resulting in a lesser damage from the commando skill. And I often saw that my Miyamoto will going to get to trigger his commander skill actually 2 times, even though the second time the amount of units left on my march is going to be super small, making no big difference, but just as a detail. So good, beautiful people, now we are ready to sort the best marches right now for the swordsman. And we're gonna do it differently this time. We want to actually start with rank number 1. And beautiful people, this is exactly what you're gonna see. A march built with King Richard is by far the strongest march out there because hero is absolutely crazy strong from all perspective, but also at the same time very unreachable for a lot of players. Good. But who is going to be the rank 2? Because I promised you guys, we're going to have to talk about Ramses, Charlemagne, and Theodora also. And here we are on the professor's channel. Because if you missed, I think, this episode, you definitely should go in there and check his calculation, which is literally the same method I am applying. Calculated the damage per second, which brought him to the conclusion that indeed Ramses, Charlemagne, and Theodora should have a roughly around 40% higher performance than Miyamoto with Tribhuwana and Yodit setup. So from this perspective, there is absolutely no question about this. Ramses, Charlemagne, and Theodora are on rank number 2. As the difference to rank 3 should be solid around 30-35% maybe, very noticeable. Now when it comes down to rank number 3 and 4, sure, we can do that. And I have chosen to put Yodit with Tribhuwana and Lagertha on rank number 3, even though you saw the difference between Yodit, Tribhuwana, and Lagertha setup and the one I'm using right now, Miyamoto, Tribhuwana, and Lagertha is round about 4 to 5%. I also have to take in consideration the following fact that when it comes down to the Miyamoto, this is not obtainable for the free-to-play players, while all these 3 heroes are obtainable in-game for free if you choose to do that. So what would be the conclusion on these ranks right now? Super important. if you have a setup like this, Ramses with Charlemagne and Theodora, sure, go to the wheel and unlock Lagertha. But you can also skip that for now and do it maybe in 2 weeks from now. But it doesn't hurt to have these heroes unlocked, as we don't know what heroes will gonna come in the future. But for the time being, Ramses, Charlemagne and Theodora, it's crystal clear on rank number 2, while rank number 1 is absolutely unreachable for 99% of the players, me included right now. And when it comes down to people whichever setup like I do, Miyamoto, Tribiwana and Yored, beautiful people, the difference, it's really so small that it doesn't justify to actually get Lagertha to that certain star level which I can generally afford. Some people go maximum 3 stars, some people like me go to 5 stars, because this setup is absolutely fine for now. If you do indeed want to make a jump, having this, as of right now, this is the jump you're gonna do. Ramses, Charlemagne and Theodora. Now, if you do not have Ramses unlocked right now, he is an ex-MGE hero, but the developers said there's gonna be a way to unlock the old heroes. And we're gonna keep an eye on that. Also, I would like to add Mr. Mehmet in this discussion because of a few reasons. Now, if you are owning a Ramses, Charlemagne and Theodora, you won't need Mehmet on the swords. And on the other side also, that's my opinion, Mehmet is badly needed on the archers, which definitely improves their performance by a lot. So anyways, beautiful people, that was it for today's episode. Now is the moment in which I will gonna invite you guys to jump into the comments and share your thoughts with us. What do you think about this ranking? And obviously, if you like to support this channel and this massive amount of time and work and obviously also money to produce such high quality videos, all you have to do doesn't cost you any money, because you should subscribe to this channel. Obviously, super important is to watch all my episodes till the end. Share this channel with your friends. Again, a massive shout out to Mr. NPC123 from server 13. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao, ciao.